Hello, you're watching Everard Junction, and today is part 3 of the canal scene that I've been working on. It's been a little while since part 2, a couple of reasons for that. First reason is the realistic water takes quite a long time to dry, and I've also been on holiday, so there was about 5 days or so where I was unable to make any progress whatsoever because I was down in Dorset. Okay, so since you last saw it, I have done a couple of things. The first thing is a second layer of realistic water has gone in, so the canal is slowly getting deeper. And the other thing I did was I added some extra painting effects to make the bottom of the canal look more realistic. What I basically did was, when the first layer of realistic water had dried, over the top of it I stippled a load of sort of grey and dark brown paint. I used the Woodland Scenics terrain paints. I stippled it around in varying amounts, and in the middle I focused on a bit more black and tried to create the effect of some depth. On the bottom layer of realistic water, the paint is all brown, so what I did was I made sure I did a thin coating when I did the stippling of the darker paints, and you can see the brown is showing through, and the effect is that we get a more realistic sort of 3D appearance. And we're not just one uniform colour all the way along. There's areas where it's quite dark, and then there's areas where the brown shows through. But because they're on different layers of realistic water, the effect is quite interesting, and I'm very pleased with it. Luckily for me, the water has dried perfectly, and it's not reacted with any of the adhesives or paints that I've got in here. It is now nice and hard all the way along. The first layer took about 72 hours to dry, and the second layer took probably about 5 days to dry. It wasn't completely dry when I left for my holiday, so I'm not sure how long after that it actually took to go off, but it certainly took longer than 72 hours. Now, that may have been because the bottom layer hadn't completely gone off and it was going to take a bit longer, or maybe I poured too much in. At the moment I'm using quite large quantities because I just want to get the depth. The top layer will get some slightly different treatment when I get there. Something that's happened, which I was fully expecting, is we've had some shrinkage. It does say that the product will shrink when it dries. So what you end up with is, at the edges of things, you get like a little lip where it lifts up. The lip actually goes to the height where you originally poured it, and then you can see, actually looking at the shadow in the tunnel there, you can see that once it's dried, it settles down and then basically shrinks, so you get this lip at the edge. Now, I was fully expecting that to happen, especially with the amount of realistic water that I'm using. So when I get the depth that I'm happy with, what I'll do is I'll apply maybe 1, 2 or even 3 extremely thin layers of realistic water that won't shrink, and the idea then is it'll build up to those previous edges, and I won't have that look. That's the plan anyway. We'll see how it goes. So today I'm going to pour in some more realistic water and wait for it to go off, and it's taking quite a while to go off, so I think, to be honest, while it's going off, I'm going to start working on the scenery over here. I'm just going to have to be careful and make sure I don't get anything in the canal. Okay, so while that's dry, I'm going to start on the hillside scenery over here. I'm going to just give it a base covering of different grass. I'll be leaving the edge along here for the moment because I may want to add some more weathering effects and things to the wall. But in the meantime, I can certainly do all of this. So I'm just going to be using some PVA glue. I'll be using it neat rather than watering it down, just to get a nice covering of base scenery in there, and then when it's dried I'll come back and I'll do my usual process and add bushes and trees and all the rest of it. Got to start off with the soil that I always use, just to get the darker colours down in there. Again, use my usual process. I'm not going to cover the entire thing because we've painted it brown, so any areas that aren't covered, the brown paint will show through and we'll have a nice realistic appearance. Now I'm going to complement that with some earth. That'll just vary the colour tones. I'm not going to put it everywhere in the same amounts. It's important to get some variation in there. Now I've done that, I'm going to give it an extremely light misting of just some water from an old Mr. Muscle spray bottle. The reason why I do this is because it just accelerates the process of the ground cover sticking to the glue on the base. At the moment there's a lot of loose stuff on the top that I've applied. It may never actually stick, so if I apply some water it'll allow the glue to soak in. That's all you need, just a tiny bit. Okay, all this stuff has dried. I'm going to work on building it up. I need to get a few more bits from Hatton's though. I've run out of some bushes and stuff. So I'll be building this area up. The realistic water I added, that was the third layer I think that I added. That dried quite quickly. That took about 48 hours. Dried nice and clear. So I've now added in a fourth layer, and we're starting to get the depth that we're after. I reckon it'll probably be another 2 or 3 layers, so I'm just going to keep adding to it over the course of this week, and hopefully by the end of the weekend and beginning of next week we should be at the end of the realistic water, and then I can sort out the embankment on the other side, add any graffiti and weathering, finish off the hillside here, and then go into all the detail of peoples and little scenes and things like that. In the meantime, I've got loads to be getting on with. I'm doing quite a few projects at the moment. There's all of the hillside which I've now done. I've put a piece in the corner over there to start work on the new scene. The rest of my retaining wall arrived and I've spent today putting that in. I'm doing a lot of work on the town scene, and I've also been going around the entire layout doing my my war on baseboard warping. I've basically been going around ever since I levelled that section, and I've just been going around the whole of the layout, and any bits where I knew it wasn't quite perfect or any bits that were causing me slight issues, I've decided to just get sorted and over and done with. So I've been going around the whole layout, levelling everything, including the helixes. Everything was pretty okay, but there were just a couple of bits and bobs that I just wanted to adjust, either for aesthetic reasons or because I had, you know, a derailment there every 20-30 laps of the layout, which is a little bit annoying. So I'll leave you with that, and hopefully if the realistic water dries quickly enough, the weather's pretty good at the moment so it shouldn't be too bad, but if I can get all of the water in and dried and sorted, hopefully there'll be another update to the canal scene in the next week or two, as I can finally start using PVA glue and really going to town on the extra bits of scenery around the edge. At the moment there's very little I can do in this area until the water has dried, because if I get anything in it it'll show, and there's no way I can pull it out after it's fallen in because it just sticks to the surface, and then trying to remove it makes a mess. So I've probably got another 3 layers of water to do, and then after that we can have the opening ceremony and remove the temporary piece that I screwed on there to stop it flowing out.